Hello and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. Test match number 2 after the amazing week that we've had. Off the ball drama, we're going to see on the ball drama. It is the last chance for the Springboks to try and level and put themselves back in the series. It all comes down to today, really, a semi-final for the Boks, but the British and Irish Lions will be treating it as nothing else besides a final. 80 minutes could be between the Lions and winning the series. For the Springboks, it's 80 minutes of giving themselves a chance to try and win the series. Hello everybody and welcome to me. I'll be with you guys for the next 2 hours. My name is Stephen. If you are new, please do start smashing the like. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let's start building up. We are 26 minutes away from kickoff for what's going to be an absolutely epic encounter. But let's start getting those score predictions in. Vote on the poll. We've had, I think, over almost 200 people now voting on the poll. So get involved there. Let's start smashing that like button. Let's get the conversation going in the comments. We had a fantastic stream last time for this. So let's try and see if we can try and smash that again. If you're looking to watch the game, you can check the links in the description. Those are all the broadcasts and stuff like that are showing the game and stuff like that. The idea of this is that you watch the game and then we can hang out here and we can talk about it and we can discuss it and sort of debate exactly what we're seeing. We'll go through the lineups in a little bit and stuff like that, but I want to people start getting their score predictions into the comments. Stop smashing that like button. Let's get into the chat. Let me know what you've thought about the Rassie Rasmus incident. We'll talk a little bit about that. I was on here stick and see Khaleesi also sort of adding to the fires yesterday when they had their press conference, which was quite interesting. So it's all heating up. Let's see who's in the comments. Hello, Sean says, yeah, so Marius, you can check all the links in the description. So you can go and check out where to go and watch it there. Smitty says, yes, notorious for assaulting players off the ball. Now they're worried about the refereeing. Oh, please, you're going to come back on the 2009 thing. I mean, come on. There's so many examples of everything. If you want to try and nitpick, you can nitpick everything. Or join ExpressVPN. Yeah, so if you want to try and bring those, you can't access those links at the bottom. If you're not in those territories, you can ExpressVPN. We've got a link in the description, which gives you a special offer for Forever Sports. And you can then go and subscribe to those subscribers. But there's no way you can watch this game free, unfortunately. FNPSG says, Boka, I'm so bloody nervous for this game. If we win this, we draw the series, and one more if we lose, we wait another 12 years. That is it, you know. That is the only way to sort of describe it. It's literally 80 minutes, and if we don't do enough, we have to wait another 12 years before we have a chance at trying to beat this British and Irish Lions side. So it really is all or nothing today. Speaking of all or nothing, I got all my beer. There's no excuses not to have beer. The prohibition is ended in South Africa. The beer stores are open. So let me know who's joining me for one. Let's start getting it going. Let's start getting excited. 24 minutes kickoff down in Cape Town. Better conditions than we saw last week. So hopefully that'll allow us to play some slightly better rugby. Try and play a bit more expansively. That's the best way to get going. That's the best way to get going. Forecast the kickoff in 25 minutes. Yes, it is. So FNTSG is going 20 points to 17 points. Boka winning. Nerves kicking in. Who's the referee today? The man in the middle will be Ben O'Keefe today. He'll be taking charge after Nick Berry took charge last weekend, and then next weekend we're going to see Mathieu Reynolds from France taking the middle. So all those three will be sort of cycling around. So Nick Berry will be one of the one of the touchline judges today, as will Mathieu Reynolds. But the man with the whistle today is Ben O'Keefe. All the Springbok players are out there warming up. We'll go through the teams, talk about what you need to look out for and stuff like that. And the TMO, I actually want to check the TMO because I wanted to make sure that I had it right. But I can tell you who it is right now. Just where so Marius Jonker will continue being the TMO. That's what I want to check. I thought it was the case. Yeah, so Ben O'Keefe from New Zealand is referee. Mathieu Reynolds from France will be taking charge next week as one untouched judge. The other touch is Nick Berry, who's obviously in the middle of this whole Rassie Rasmus saga, and Marius Jonker will continue as the TMO. Dion says, hope the Boks are up to today. Honestly, living in the UK can be a nightmare. They're celebrating already on Sky Sports like they have won. Well, let's see. We can try and go and change that. Goose says, Let's call the Beer Butchers. Box win by 12. Yeah, there we go. We've got a poll running. A lot of people back in the box in the poll, so keep going, go and vote. Let's get smashing that like button. Let's get subscribing. We're 15 away from 3,400 subscribers, so let's try and see if we can smash that by the end of the game. Maybe we can even smash that before the game even begins. But yeah, let's settle in. And I think that the only way we can really start this and talk about what we're going to see today is we have to look at the sort of the war of words that we are now seeing. And I'll tell you what, a lot of the UK media and stuff like that are going after Rassie Erasmus and after the SA. But if there's one thing that you cannot accuse the South Africans of in the last 2 weeks, it's of not being authentic. I mean, the interview yesterday by Zodi Stick and Sia Khaleesi was so brutally honest about how they feel. So I mean, I suppose it's two things. You can go the sort of the weight, which is very well trained, and you sort of say what you're supposed to say type thing, and don't give anything away and stuff like that. Or you can come out and be very honest, and that's what South Africa have done. I mean, and the video that Rassie Erasmus has put out, it's whether you agree or not or don't agree. The one thing that we can sort of talk about is the fact that they'll definitely have an influence. The referees will be in the spotlight today, one way or another. They all need to know that they can't sort of let 50-50 calls go one side too much. They're going to be very aware, but they also, I think, even more than just the case of trying to win that 50-50 call, I think what's quite important is that the Springboks have identified potential areas and trends that the British and Irish Lions were using in the first test that they want to stamp down on. And the big one was being offside of the ruck, Tom Curry quite a lot. And I think also, a little bit in the air and stuff, and the offside line, and also like the length of advantage, for example. So it just sort of puts that in the mind a bit, O'Keefe. He's going to be sitting there thinking, well, it's been a decent advantage for South Africa, but last week, we were kind of guilty of giving the British and Irish Lions much more advantage than the Springboks, and that'll be playing on his mind a lot. So it'll definitely influence the referees today. Whether it's right or wrong, we can debate this till the cows come home. I think it's a very historic moment for the game itself. Rassie Erasmus coming out and saying this, because I think that a lot of head coaches have wanted to do something like this. There's always been, quite a lot of controversy surrounding referees and officiating. A lot of head coaches are quite frustrated with what they're seeing on a week-to-week basis, but they don't really have an outlet. As soon as you say something in a press conference, that gets blown up. So for somebody to sit down and release a whole edited video and say, this was dodgy, what about this, what are you going to do about this? It was a massive sort of hit towards World Rugby. And I think that the funny thing is that a lot of it came simply through the frustration of the fact that it took so long to give them the feedback. The fact that they wanted to have the conversation on Sunday so they could sort of analyze it, and they weren't ready to have it. They only got the feedback on Tuesday. And that was kind of sort of the root of where the frustration grew, to the extent that this video was leaked. I mean, look, this video wasn't Rassie Erasmus putting it on YouTube saying, I'm going to put this out there for the world. I mean, it suddenly appeared on Vimeo, so I mean, it was definitely a leak and very much an intentional leak. But it wasn't through official channels, which I think is quite important. The entire video was addressed to World Rugby, to the refereeing panel. It wasn't, oh, well, look at this, look at them making terrible mistakes. So whilst I think it was very intentionally leaked, if you have to look at it in isolation, it's a video that was supposed to be for World Rugby, and then now, has hit the screens of everybody. So King Cobra saying Box should win big. FNTSG says war of words over game time. Do you see Colby getting the ball more today? I hope so. My score, Boca 27-16 Lions. Yeah, I went with 25-16, I think, in my score prediction on Thursday when I was over on Gareth Mason's channel. We were doing a combined preview, and I said I went with quite a similar score line. And look, I just hope that we're right. I really, really hope that we're right, because I think it's going to be, if we lose today, it's going to be heartbreaking. 12 years. 2 matches and it's already done. It's going to be ridiculously depressing as a Springbok fan if we then have to wait another 12 years before we get the chance to watch this game again. But hopefully we don't have to worry about that. Hopefully the Springboks really put in a massive effort and they level the series, and then we go into a final next weekend. That is what we want. We want a final next weekend. We want a full 80 minutes of there can only be one winner or else a draw. That's a possibility, but pretty unlikely if we're going to be very honest. Johan Smith says, not sure that was such a good idea from British bloggers and media to call out our locks and say Maratoja smashed Eben. Tim van den Berg says nervous for this game. Pastor said with intensity we'll bring, I hope we don't get any cards. Well, I mean, if you were watching the Curry Cup earlier, it was unbelievable. The Griquas beat the Sharks And the Griquas received 5 yellow cards throughout the match. 5 yellow cards. They were down to 12 men at the stage, and they still beat the Sharks with a bonus point. So it was an incredible match earlier. But I hope we don't see cards today, unless they really are deserved. But I think there's a little bit of pressure that if we do see something that is a yellow card offence, that they will have to go to the pocket, because they didn't do it last weekend. And, it'll be one of those things where it's just going to be set up so perfectly, for example, for the Springboks to then get a 50-50 yellow card, which will infuriate the entire supporters. What I did find quite amusing was in the press conference yesterday. If you haven't had a chance, go and check it out later. Because Manzila Stick called out Warren Gatlin. He said, the gentleman questioned the integrity of the game when he went after the potential integrity of the TMO, which was Marius Jonker. And there's quite a lot of backlash from the British media about the fact that they weren't allowed to ask questions. And one guy from Sky Sports asked Siya what he meant by the fact that he didn't feel he was respected. And Siya's response was, did you watch the video? And he said, no, not really. So how you could have gone into a press conference having not watched the video and then ask about that, it's beyond me. You had plenty of time to do it. It came out on Thursday. So to have not watched that video and then have asked Siya that question. But it's amazing how the UK media is sort of building this narrative of we didn't get a chance to ask questions, and we were sort of denied that chance. Whereas if you watch the Lions press conferences, it literally goes in order. They go Talk Sports, Sky Sports, BBC, and they go select few, and then if you're lucky, one or two other local UK media get a chance. But it's very, very rare that South African media actually have had a chance this series to ask questions in the press conference, to be able to ask Warren Gatlin what he thinks. So I find that was quite funny to see the British media trying to have a go at us for that. And especially when you look at the British media, who have always asked such inflammatory questions in the press conferences. They have really fueled this whole debate. I mean, it was a throwaway comment. I mean, when you think about this, the whole Waterboy incident started. I've been in all the press conferences, so it all started with a simple remark where Gatlin was like, it was a bit strange seeing him do it. You wouldn't see me doing that, but if that's what he wants to do, that's what he wants to do. And then, after the SAA game, when Rassie said that we want to play them again, but if we don't, it won't be because they're scary or anything like that. He literally meant it literally will not be that. That won't be the reason. And the UK media sort of spun that and said to Gatlin saying, so the Boks reckon you're too scared to play them. What do you think? So let's not underestimate how much that certain parts of the media have really fueled the whole war of words, which has boiled over. Suddenly the TMO being questioned, suddenly now a whole video being released. So it's amazing for a series with no fans and nobody at the games, how aggressive it's been, how hostile the environment, how the fans are at each other, how the players are, feeling the pressure. We've built this amazing, online atmosphere, despite there not being a single fan in the stadium. I mean, how cool is the fact that we've actually been able to do that? So in many ways, people have not liked it, but I think it's just built up a lot of hype. Views. I think we're back. Are we back? Sorry about that. It was just typical on a day like this to have technical issues. But I think we're back for now. Let's hope we have any more issues. Don't have any more issues there. Sorry about that. Yeah, literally SA Internet, the classic. So yeah, please do keep smash the like. We'll be back. We are back, and hopefully we'll have very minimal issues. Busy going to put in a fail safe. So sorry about that, but we are back. Just what we need. As I said, all the anticipation stuff like that, all building and stuff like that, and then the internet decides to go down and make life a little bit more complicated than it really needs to be. But yeah, so